What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 16 of my Total War Warhammer 3 Man-Eater's Mortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, we have taken the head of Sigvald, not so magnificent now that he's in somebody's stomach. We are going to be probably destroying him within this episode, depending on whether we can reach the Fortress of the Damned by looping around like this. There's a decent likelihood we could at least temporarily send Magic Feaster Targog back there. It's not like we really care if Nagrar gets retaken by the Legion of the Gore Queen, since, well, we haven't really invested anything whatsoever in it. And by the looks of it, we'll also be taking out the Nagaroth High Elves, who will have upgraded to Tier 4 by the time we get there, which is good, because hopefully we could take the settlement to Tier 3, and maybe even fight Alethanar himself with Brawler Guts Blout. And that's the dream, anyway. So, let's get started. Who has to move first? It is Brawler Guts Mr. Paychest, but we've seen him fight a lot, and I've been very excited about getting more fights for the ranged army. So I think we're gonna go for Grimgor instead. He does have a lot of units in there, which is not something that the ranged army is going to be particularly good at dealing with. They're more of a single one-on-one army type deal, but, well, you gotta give him a chance, and Grimgor is in march stance as well, so this is the time, I think, to attack him. It does mean that we can't deal with Trutch Craventail right now, because I think we're not gonna get a better opportunity to ambush Grimgor, and thus, we're going to ask him for the peace treaty, peace out for 10 turns, then destroy him right after. It's not like he's any kind of threat, let's face it. Alright. And he's very much willing to do that, and is he always suffering attrition? Oh wait, I think he was. It's because of the offer to the Great Maw. Yeah, it's fine. Alright, Death Cheater Zuck. You were gonna go around this way, but I think, wait, Morglis Backstabber wouldn't be able to reach you right here, would he? Yeah, and then we can meet up with Greasy right over here, and we'll see if Morglis attempts to go after Greasy or tries to defend the Tower of Gorgoth or what. The worst thing that could happen is if he ignores both of these armies and tries to head over here instead, because we really don't want to lose Firemouth, but, well, it's too late now. This is what we're doing, so. Alright, now, Magic Feaster Smash Gooder. Honestly, Smash Gooder sounds like a big name, not even a name. Anyway, he's still strength rank 5. Damn, Grimgor. Still very strong. I did say that, like, basically all the strongest factions on the map are, like, right here, which is nice for us. And Zatan's the only one fighting him. I think Zatan's too poor to give us any kind of money, and why piss off the Cathians who we're trading with right now? So, let's just attack Grimgor directly. You have everything up and running. You have your points attributed. Grimgor. Once again, you really shouldn't have been in the mountains of Morn, buddy. It's ours. We need it for mawing purposes. War Banner. Oh, I really miss the SFO War Banner. It gives you range damage as well, unless I'm mistaken. And it's not just leadership. I think it's weapon strength and range damage. Something like that. It's one of those banners that you can put on things that are hybrids. But anyway, frankly, it's kind of useless. Put it on the Slaughtermaster. Anyway, let's see if we can do this. Valiant defeat, casualties high. Grimgor himself is there. He's got a Wa. He's got his super-powered Grimgor's Wa buff for him. Go.
My cleavers gleam, my hook is sharp. They have no chance.
Alrighty, here we go. I am pretty excited about this battle. Once again, since this army wasn't really built for this sort of thing, the battle will probably be decided by the degree to which Grimgor is willing to spread his forces out and attempt to overrun us. And I suppose the degree to which they can actually catch our Iron Blasters, who have a tendency to be very quick and very, very annoying, like so. The Iron Blasters, functioning as missile cavalry, will essentially move forward and begin begin firing upon whatever enemies they can reach. A couple of volleys will bring down a unit of Orc Boar Boy Biggins and by about 40% of their HP-ish, and a few stray shots into other units. And the same thing is happening over here as enemy units attempt to crest the hill, particularly the Black Orcs, which are going to be the main targets here, and we're going to try to dish out as much damage to them and the Boar Boys as possible. Basically, our army can't really fight in melee, or at the very least, it would be very lackluster in melee. So we have to prevent any enemies from getting to us. Ooh, looks like some Flappas are moving towards us. Flappas have Strider, otherwise they're very much inferior to the spiky rollers. And oh, Trixie AI. It looked like they were heading towards the rest of the army, but then turned towards the Iron Blaster. That said, unfortunately, they do get slowed down and then ripped apart by those lead belchers, while the rest of the enemy army continues moving towards us. And the blob, well, maybe not quite blobby as we might like it, but it looks like there is several units that are close enough together for our scrap launchers to fire right into them all. Very nice. Frankly, they're still firing on the Black Orcs, but the Black Orcs are near other units and thus are suffering for it. Unit of Gobos attempts to... No, that's Unit of Black Orcs. Oh, wow. They look tiny from up above. They all look like ants from here. We'll attempt to chase those Iron Blasters, and we'll similarly get gunned down by the lead belchers. And there we go. The battle is, and while the forces rather aren't quite engaged yet, and the enemy continues heading towards us, and we continue annoying said enemy with those Iron Blasters. Definitely one of those types of battles where you actually want to see the entire battlefield view, because it's not just a melee brawl where, I mean, no matter where you look, essentially the same thing is going on, but there's a lot of moving parts here, quite literally in the form of the Iron Blasters, and a lot of micro to do with them as well. And, ooh, it looks like a big old Ragnarok is heading towards us. Although, interestingly enough, the Ragnarok is probably not a major threat to us compared to getting mobbed by just huge amounts of infantry. And cavalry, potentially. Nice hit from that Thunder Tusk, forcing those rallying Orc Boys to run once more. Does look like some of the enemies are beginning to close the distance, however, which is starting to potentially get dangerous. Of course, we do still have the man-eaters with Ogre Pistols and Nobbler Trappers to potentially fight in melee, should we desire to do so. And nice volley into those goblins with spears. I see Grimgor himself is closing as well. Our Slaughtermaster was up front and, well, in front of our army, spamming that Flock of Doom. It looks like the Ragnarok Spider has given chase to one of the Iron Blasters. However, the rest of our forces will back off. We were standing up on top of the hill, and we can head to the top of that hill and allow the enemies to move towards us once more, especially as they attempt to consolidate their forces. The AI is, however, doing a pretty darn good job of not blobbing up in this particular battlefield. They are a massive line that will come at us from three sides, essentially. And we may have to back off further. I'm gonna keep firing on them with those Iron Blasters, however. It will probably be difficult to have the Lead Belchers going from up on top of this hill, because the hill will start shielding most of the enemy units. That said, at the same time, as the enemy does get closer to us, they'll have to suffer poison and frostbite as well, so they will slow down further. Looks like the Ragnarok Spider that was chasing around one of our Iron Blasters is gonna book it on out of there, down to about 10% of its HP or so. And we're still looking good. Grimgor is still heading towards us, or at least attempting to do so, and the rest of their forces slowly but surely advancing. And it's now time to summon our Saber Tusks from our Hunters. Just gonna send them into the fray and to block off whatever units have started to reach us. Gotta love all these slowdown combinations. We have a frickin' spiky rollers down to 22 speed slower than infantry. I gotta love it. And that's without poison on them, just frostbite plus chilling aura. So you can't underestimate the combination of poison plus Thunder Tusk. It's pretty darn nasty. It's got me thinking about another army. What if we do something like eight Thunder Tusks, which is frankly ridiculous on its own, but just for fun. 8 Thunder Tusks and then 8 Nobbler Trappers, all firing off poison daggers, and then the Thunder Tusks and doing their hits as well. Is there anything else we had? Do we have something like Monstrous Impact or any other things we can stack? I had a lot of fun stacking like a billion different slowdown abilities in Elspeth's campaign. Like, I want to see what we can do about it here. Anyway, Goblin Spears down to 16 speed and some big ol' hits into them. The daggers, the cannon fire, the tusks, the ogre pistols, etc. And a few seconds of that and both units will book it out of there. And Grimgor is getting closer and closer to our army, though at 29 speed, and because of his lack of mass, he's having a very difficult time getting to us. Every, I don't know, few seconds one of the lead belchers will hit him, and then they'll knock him back / flying. There we go, just like so. Ooh, looks like those ones staggered him actually rather than sending him flying, but all good. The Iron Blasters continue to do good work. A few of them have been a little bit damaged at this point, but nothing so bad. Balance of Power is at about 90% in our favor, though the enemy is starting to at last close. Grimgor is down to about 40% of his HP. And those man-eaters and one of the hunters keep on firing at him as well. He is wavering though, and now the Tormentor Sword locks him in place. We did put the Tormentor Sword in this army because it makes the most sense to do so. Alright, does look like some Mangler Squigs have managed to catch up to one of our Iron Blasters. Probably not the best use of the Mangler Squigs, but with them in Rampage, they'll just ignore the Saber Tusk, and by the looks of it head into those Lead Belchers, which are fragile enough, I imagine, for the Mangler Squigs to munch on a little bit. That said, they're gonna be the only ones doing munchin' from the Orky army, as Grimgor will shatter and the rest of his army will go. The Squigs were in Rampage until they were destroyed, and of course they're unbreakable as well. Grimgor will get chased down by the Thunder Tusk, who has him down to 10 speed. Oh, that must be so frickin' irritating. Man, Frostbite and Chilling Aura, it's a really nasty combination on these big boys, and these Thunder Tusk will crush Grimgor as well. Very nice. A very fun fight. Alright, there we go, that worked out pretty well. Interestingly, the Scrap Launchers got a lot more kills and more damage than all of the Iron Blasters, but to be fair, the Iron Blasters were acting almost like missile cavalry here, and the Scrap Launchers were, well, they had a pretty target-rich environment in the form of all of the enemy blobs there, so it does kind of make sense. Lots of damage and kills on both of our Thunder Tusks as well as several units of the Lead Belchers, who did fairly nicely. Hunters don't have their stone horns yet, so they can't act as, melee, but obviously that's hence they're basically non-existent kills, but by the looks of it, at 25k, the Slaughtermaster did the second best in terms of damage after the best damage dealing, third best after the Thunder Tusk of the Nobbler Scrap Launcher, but about on par with them. So, very nice. And against this particular army type, with all of those hordes of units, the Flock of Doom spam does work out after all. We have basically no healing, and in fact in the battle, our single entities got damaged on occasion. However, there was no real way to heal them due to this army not really being able to activate its healing ability, because you have to have units charging, and while the Lead Belchers aren't charging anything, and I guess it's not enough that too many single entities with the Lead Belchers and stuff, or not Lead Belchers, the Iron Blasters. Not enough units charging to, well, charge it up. But anyway, we're gonna take the money, because healing is basically non-existent. And Relic Sword, Orcsbane, Belly Slapper, Nog Flag, Roxburgh. And there's that, oh, they both got that Stonehorn. You know what? That is well earned. That's just another power-up for this army. You probably don't need spell resistance on these guys. Let's get them, I guess, Sharper Spear. You know what? No, let's go for Scarred Veteran. Let's face it, they're still not going to be doing a crazy amount of damage in range. It's just not happening. What about you? What are you missing, sir? You could probably use more points in Flock of Doom, admittedly. We don't have Fight or Die either, so we should get that. And I think we need Ravenous Fighters for the Ruinous fighters for the man-eaters with ogre pistols, which we'll get afterwards. Don't have it yet. I guess you're moving on to Blizzard Peak. Gotta get that salt up and running, which is upkeep reduction for us. And Valiant Defeat. Is it a is it a defensive structure there? There is. Alright, so it'll be a minor settlement siege. We haven't had one of those with that army yet, which should keep it a little bit interesting, but for now, it's Mr. Paychest once again. Let's see. Wilric Kilgore. He's got a better army than Sigvald did. He's got chariots, he's got knights. Let's see how we fare against this kind of force. And then move on to the Folly of Malefics afterwards. Ooh, and there's another army out here. And, oh wow, decisive victory casualties low. But I still think it's worth fighting, because once again, it is a stronger army than Siggy's was. And the chariots and the knights could very much be a threat to us, and are very much a threat to us. So, this may actually be lying in our favor, potentially. Let's find out.
Just use lot, remember. I want the leader's head. Intact, mind. Got it?
Alrighty, here we get. What the heck is that? Huh. What is that? Some kind of weird Laneshi construct? I want to zoom in more. What's on top of that thing? Is it a big old sword? Is it some kind of weird Slaneshi phallic compass? Can I say phallic? YouTube, are you gonna hurt me? Anyway, man-eater. Here we go. I've deployed the Noblar trappers up front. This was perhaps something of an error, as I figured they would be able to dish out decent damage to those Seeker Chariots. We've seen them obliterate Seeker Chariots before, but with 2 units of Seeker Chariots and Chaos Knights and Chaos Warhounds here, it looks like it wasn't quite enough. That said, with the Chaos Knights charging in, we do pop that Cascading Fire Cloak on the Shin Shanker's Noblar trappers, which bumps their melee defense up to 72, which is pretty crazy, and the merely 31 attack of the Chaos Knights is just not enough to break through. Then we pop Stand or Die on them as well, and these are now Noblar trappers with 96 melee defense. I don't think, with their charge having failed, that these Chaos Knights will be able to do anything to get through that kind of defense. They were going to be completely reliant on the charge. Looks like the chariots did charge the Boglars of the Mad Marshes here, but failed, having taken heavy damage, and will back off, and it looks like the other chariots will back off as well. Doggos are in to help the knights, but the giants and our single entities have now arrived to bail out the Noblars. I was hoping to do some decent damage to all of these guys and hopefully cripple all of their fast movers before the main army got here, but it looks like they are coming in. Gonna try to block them off as best we can by popping a flame storm in their way, so that either they have to run through it and take damage, or otherwise they get hit by that vortex debuff and get slowed down. This is a decent opportunity to back off once we've knocked out these trolls and chariots though. And we'll start backing on by popping eruptions on our 2 fire bellies, and Cav was hoping that would clear the way for us and allow us to back away. Come on. I like to use these to escape, though they are solid in damage dealing as well, and it does look like it's working, allowing us to use our mass to back off. Does look like another unit of Chaos Knights have arrived, however, this is a place Chaos Knights do not want to be. All 4 giants are together as they were backing off to our main army, and they will rip those Chaos Knights apart, who have already lost half their HP. The armor sundering probably not helping much either. Does look like, however, a unit of trolls and a unit of Seeker Chariots and Doggos all managed to catch one of our units of Noblar Trappers here, who have lost about half their HP, though not yet half of their units. The Pigback Riders are going to move on in. I was expecting to be able to return to our army like this, but by the looks of it, that didn't quite work out, so we're going to have to fight in the middle of the battlefield. I was originally hoping to lead the enemy here to where this forest would allow us to fight against large units easier due to the debuff, and then of course the sort of impassable terrain, but all good. We'll just fight in the center instead. It's not like we're doing badly, as we're already at about 85 balance of power in our favor, and as the Pigback Riders move in to help the giants and our other single entities, with artillery support coming down from those scrap launchers, and we should be looking pretty good. I do wish this army had room for more scrap launchers, but I can't, I don't know, I can't countenance removing any more of the Nobblers out of it, and I do still think that we need the Giants in here as their absolute linchpins in this army. Alright, Spirit Leech coming down on the Bogglers of the Man, these guys are really mad at those, Nobblers. And the Nobbler Trappers in particular. I guess they did start by taunting them and destroying some of those Seeker Chariots and stuff. And by the looks of it, with the way the enemy army has started moving, with that, the enemy army will shatter, and the Gold Eater will get yet another victory for him and his merry band of Nobblers. Merry because he's been winning so much that the army has plenty to eat, and the Nobblers don't get eaten or just, you know, crushed or something in a fit of pique. All right, that was pretty nice. Went a little hard with the various Nobbler trappers who were put in a very dangerous situation before our single entities got there, but it was a little bit of a different way to fight than we normally would have with the pigback riders coming in as reinforcements. As for these guys, let's see. Ooh, at 10k damage, by the looks of it, the Tendon Takers took many a tendon, and apparently that does a lot of damage to Slaaneshi. I guess they like to run and all, and they need tendons for that. But anyway, we also got decent damage on both the Fire Bellies due to their eruption ability, as well as their melee defense, I forgot what the Flame Incarnate ability, as well as their 2 Flame Storms. So good job to them. Plus, spamming those Cascading Fire Cloaks really helps out with the Nobblers actually surviving, because between Cascading Fire Cloak and the, not Fight or Die, the other thing, the melee defense buff, we can get their defense to pretty insane heights. Anyway, we'll eat the captives just for a teensy bit of healing because we're in attrition territory and we have no way to pop a camp up yet. Ooh, another forest cloak. Nice. I've been waiting for one of those. What do we got here? We just need capacity now. But there isn't much we can do about that as yet. You cannot reach Lamont Wallbreaker, and you can't go into any kind of stance. I guess you're going to go to the Folly of Malefics anyway, so it doesn't really change anything. So, assuming there's nowhere you can move, that will de-attritionify because it's Chaos territory, so just sit there. And, ooh, you have Mentor available now, yes? Yes. Lovely. Gotta keep getting that on all our guys. Alright, Recruiter Gagbat the Carver. Technically a recruiter. Right, we were waiting for a Lord kill. Let's double check the Lords here. A Tyrant that is at high level that we start with the Deboner trait. I suppose we could get Drunkbat up and running anyway. And at least that way we would start leveling him, because who knows, we might never get another Deboner. It's a possibility. And so we should probably just do what we're doing right now. Anyway, we are not keeping any of these territories here. There isn't really any need. Let us go here. I assume we can replace while at field. At least I hope so. Let's find out. Alright, and Pyrrhic Victory, yeah, this army isn't really an army yet. This is just what we're holding while we're waiting for the hero army to be up and running, but, you know. Let's replace you with this guy, Drunkbat. Gagbat into Drunkbat. Gagbat just drank a lot, and he became Drunkbat. Makes sense. Yeah, and we'll wait for possibly a Tyrant that's at level 16, and with the same buff. For now, yep. I just feel like a Tyrant should lead this army because we don't really have Tyrants everywhere, and, well, frankly, they're not super useful in terms of buffing an army, but, well, we don't really need to buff this army. I don't even need a red line at all because it'll be all heroes, so you can just make this guy a really, really big fighter and get him buffs like Looter and stuff. I guess we could pop Bellower. Nah, it's not even needed. Leadership on the heroes is going to be pretty insane, so let's just go into Looter. Lightning Strike Quartermaster would be nice because I imagine that all the bruisers... Actually, the bruisers are quite cheap. They're actually a lot cheaper than a lot of units, like the Like the Crushers are 550, Iron Blasters are 520, even the Mournfangs are 400-ish, 300 to 400. The regular Mournfangs are quite cheap, but, you know. Anyway, anybody else need to move this turn? Magic Feaster Targog, you are going to sail, lad. We're going to send you around the bend and go to the Fortress of the Damned. And I think you are the last, or second last. We still have one more fight in. Come on. Alright, and that fight will be against this minor settlement with the ranged army once more. Loving that all the new armies are getting a chance to play around. There's still a lot of orcs here. We handled Grimgor with these, but we'll see how these guys do within a minor settlement. Go.
No speeches, only cleaving, meat and death.
I mean, that still counts as a speech, buddy. I know I've said that before, but he says those speeches as he gives a speech. Honestly, that feels like something I would do. But anyway, here we go. This should definitely be completely different than the open field battle against Grimgor. These sort of terrible pathing in minor settlements is in combination with the fact that our units will be getting in each other's way and in each other's line of sight should make this a fairly interesting fight. And we're not going to just sit back and bombard the enemy from a distance. We are going to head in and try to clear the enemy settlement street by bloody street. Gonna start off by knocking down that that platform, or I think that was a barricade. No, it was a platform. There were units on top of it, and then having our artillery target the enemy artillery. Granted, the goblin bolt throwers don't seem to be particularly much of a threat. I'm really excited to, you know, run orcs next time, just so I could try the, bolt throwers. Damn. Sometimes the words escape me. Anyway, so I could try the bolt throwers in like high numbers, like get an army with like 8 to 10 of them in it. Next time you guys vote on orcs, definitely something that I'm gonna do. But anyway, for now, we've got to destroy them, and they're not too much threat. Anyway, here comes the Ragnarok Spider, just as we start moving on into the enemy settlement, and by the looks of it, it will arrive before most of our range gets here, and so we're going to have to fight it with our big boys. Fortunately, as gigantic as the Arachnaroks are, they look tiny compared to the Thunder Tusks and Stonehorns. Our big boys are real big. Man, too bad there's no, like, I mean, obviously that would be like an insane animation that they would never do because it would be way too much work. But it would be, wouldn't it be amazing if there was like a sync animation where the, I don't know, maybe the ogres on top of the howdah just jump from their howdah on top of the, that of the Arachnarok and just start, you know, doing stuff up there. Not in a good way. That's what I'd love. But anyway. Maybe in Total Warhammer 4 someday, or maybe 5, depending on how far the technology is coming that time. Anyway, Ragnarok Spider is down to about 40% HP, but more importantly, its leadership is gone, and so it's routing. More units are moving in, and some of the units are Black Orcs here, so we're going to target them with both of our Thunder Tusks in the hopes of slowing them down. Man-eaters with Ogre Pistols now combining their fire with the daggers on the Noblar Trappers and the, I don't know, snow boulders of those saber tusks. By the looks of it, do decent damage to these guys, and certainly can slow them down to about 16 to 17 move speed. And of course we've got the Iron Blasters firing as well, but they're going to try and focus down the Arachnarok before it comes back. They do heavy damage to pretty much anything they hit. But Iron Blasters have always been pretty crazy units, so hardly surprising. Does look like the enemy will be able to close the distance here, and we're going to have to do a little bit of melee fighting. Gonna preemptively pop that Vissen's Wild form to give the armor, much needed armor, to both the Man-Eaters with Ogre Pistols and the Noblar Trappers, and going to bump up the mass of our main line, which is primarily Noblars here, with a couple of Saber Tusk summons. They can hopefully distract those Black Orcs and prevent us from taking too much damage. Does look like the enemy, however, has decided to flank us while we were protecting the rain, or protecting this little crossing. And a unit of Trolls and a unit of boar boys or these biggins? Pork boar boy biggins does manage to rush our lead belchers. Gonna back those guys up and continue firing as best we can into their flanks while the saber tusks and basically all the big boys hold them off. While of course the rest of our range units continue guarding this crossing or continue fighting in melee. I mean, just the nature of one of these smaller settlements, if you're impatient like me and want to do it reasonably quick. Obviously, we could have opened up a lot more distance and continued the bombardment for absolute ages, because look at the ammunition of the iron blasters. They can, it's 4 minutes in, and they've been firing nearly non-stop. So they could have kept firing for days. We could probably just very slowly clear the entire settlement with the scrap launchers bombarding them and the iron blasters shooting and scooting away. But I think this is more fun. Gotta love how the Nobblers are so tiny that the man-eaters with Ogre pistols have absolutely no problem firing over their heads, especially at the boar boys, but even at the black orcs as well. And Butcher is in the midst of the fight, knocking down a few of those single entities, and our big boys are now moving away to make sure that that flank doesn't get hit again. Let them do their thing up there while we hold these guys off here. Okay, there we go. I was looking for the iron blasters. There we go. You gotta love watching these guys and hearing these guys fire. Ogres have very pleasant sounding artillery, don't they? Between the lead belchers and the iron blasters, just very fun to listen to them fire. Alright, and it does look like we are still managing to hold the enemy off, and our Nobblers aren't even all that badly damaged, surprisingly. I guess the use of those saber tusks really paid off, didn't it? Plus, of course, the armor from the Vicinus wild form. And this, of course, once again, despite the lack of the big boys, which are now fighting elsewhere. Gonna pop a Flock of Doom on the enemy as they back away and keep firing. Bit of a range exchange happening here as the Orc boys attempt to fire upon us, only to get hit by various lead belchers and iron blasters. In the meantime, we are going to reposition with the iron blasters out front. Frankly, we want to move forward so that the Ogre pistols are in front of the iron blasters, but right now, they're getting a pretty good beat on these enemies as they try to move in, and while they're slowed down from the poison, I probably should have actually left one of these saber tusks here to apply their aura and to apply their frostbite and range, but this is going pretty well. Man, the iron blasters really make little Groms look like garbage by comparison, and I don't dislike little Groms. I do use them a fair bit, but there's barely any comparison. These things get so hard, and they have multi-shot and armor sundering, and they're incredibly quick. We can't really fight in melee, but they still have that massive charge bonus, so we can still send them to harass like basic range units in melee if it's needed. There we go. Alright, well those units are not getting there anytime soon. How's the fight going up here? Ooh, one of the Thunder Tusks has taken a little bit of damage and is down to half HP. I think perhaps some of the archer units were focusing them down, but now we've gotten through the Orc boys and are charging directly into those archers. Not the ranged way of doing it as we might normally do, but we have no arcing units with the exception of the scrap launchers, and it's just going to take too long to kill these guys by arcing our shots over the settlement. Easier to have the big boys take care of it. How's the defense going over here? Has the enemy given up on attempting to cross? By the looks of it, they have, so we will cross instead and set ourselves up once more. A couple of terrible shots from those scrap launchers, attempting to make sure that that Black Orc unit routes for good, but all good. They've got more units where that came from. The lead belchers firing into those gobos, and here come the daggers as well. And here come the iron blasters. That's got to be a very scary sight. There we go. Oh, this is brutal. An absolutely brutal sight in the mountains of Morn, but, well, I imagine it's a pretty brutal place. There we go. Alright, I'm really glad we didn't auto-resolve. This is a really fun fight. I mean, we would have also taken pretty massive damage. I don't know what happened to my voice there. Blah, 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 blah. Sometimes I get excited. Anyway, by the looks of it, the bounce power is at about 90% in our favor, something along those lines. The big boys are still fighting out here, still chasing down those air boys so that they can't arc their shots down at us. But by the looks of it, the battle is very nearly ours. Alright, and even a unit of Blackworks came out to play. Maybe that explains some of the damage on these guys. They've suffered a little bit more hurt as they've been fighting up here. The enemy melee units, however, have completely failed to reach our range units. And there we go. I do believe with that the enemy army will shatter and oh my lord, guys, got lead belchers, come on, guys. The Nobbler Trappers were doing so well and you had to kill off like 20 of them or something with friendly fire. Well, we've seen it before and I'm sure we'll see it again. It's partly what the Nobbler Trappers are for. Anyway, Battle Tsar is a very, very nice fight and I'm happy that we're getting more action for the ranged army. Alright, there we go. That went completely differently than our fight with Grimgor's 2 stacks, or stack and 1 was pretty interesting, that we had to engage in melee quite a bit with the, well, let's say half of our army, while the ranged units were more on the right flank. The big boys were protecting the left so that they didn't get in the way in part. Anyway, well done to everybody in the army, but I guess with 473 kills, this hunter really managed to wade into that blob of orcs and gobos. Well done, buddy. We are going to, I guess, just occupy the place. Yeah, it was a tier 3, so it'll be a tier 2, so we may as well keep it. And we'll immediately get that salt flats up and running. Salt was the main thing that we wanted, and I should have never given this territory back to the greenskins in the first place. We'll keep the maw hole here for the turn while we heal up, because we'll want to basically auto-resolve a lot of our territories here while we destroy Grimgor and take the Mountains of Morn all for ourselves. And with that, I believe we are good to end the turn, unless I'm mistaken. There's probably some buildings to build, but I will do it next turn. Tribal Gathering. Well, getting there with the tech. I do want to end the... Yeah, I want to end the turn. We're basically out of time here, but I want to end the turn so I can move all of the tech thieves around between the episodes. Oh, I forgot that you were sieging the Volary. And I was looking right at it, too. You're good. Okay, good luck with that. Are you... You're going to sack it and move over there. Okay, that's a bad idea because we didn't invest in that at all, and we are going to come after you with the Winter Army, which is right beside you. I just had to stop on by to deal with Valkia. Speaking of, peace treaty. No? I mean... let me just see here. How many turns would it take us to... I mean, it's for 10 turns, eh? I don't really see a need. I'm gonna say no. I suppose the need would be if we would try to get a contract for it, but oh well. Settlement sacked, Black Creek, Spire the Broken Lands, the Disciples of Hashut destroyed. Well done to the dwarfs, I guess. Scout Firebelly has returned. A free Talisman of Endurance. Very nice. Technology researched. And killed the Smelly Elf. Datan. Okay, and there's that didn't mean to click you. Carl, ooh, he's strength rank 6 now. Huh, maybe he'll be able to deal with the vampires all on his own. I guess we're gonna have to find out. Are you able to auto-resolve this? You are. There's no need to fight this. Barely any garrison. And we will sack it. And then heal up and then raise it next turn. Wanted that extra money for the admin. And it's not like we care... well, really about anything that happens to the Gobos, we just care about these single entities, though they did get quite hurt here, interestingly enough. Anyway, big names unlocked. Oh, this army's going to be unlocking many a big name while it fights. Anyway, with that, folks, we're out of time. I'll do the tech stealing between the episodes, and when we come back, we should probably be able to destroy Grimgor within the episode, because he doesn't really have anything left. Carrick Vrag might warrant a fight, because it has a big garrison, but I think that's pretty much all his armies. Though he does have a lot of territory, admittedly. He won't have it for too much longer. Anyway, more ogres to come, and Morgulus went to Tower of Gorgoth. That'll be a fight for Greasy, and on top of that... 1 second. 4% versus... 1%? Yeah. Alright, that'll be a fight with Greasy, but also with his brand new Crushers. So, Steel Tech. Success, very nice. Belly Slapper Tech Thief. You're headed to the Tower of Gorgoth, which I guess we'll sack and occupy. We can't get a... Ooh, Pyrrhic Victory, high casualties. Oh, they got giants in there, and a tier 4 garrison, and a defensive structure. Ooh, very nice. Oh, that's making me excited. Let's pop these guys in here now. Like so, like so, like so, like so. We don't need the saber tusks, and as much as it hurts, I guess we'll get rid of one of the lead belchers, or keep the 5 lead belchers, 5 for 5, and then get rid of the butcher of beasts. The maw should be sufficient, I guess. Although he's been with this army for a while. I don't know, I'll think about it. Either way, you gotta go now, buddy. Death Cheater Zuck, you will be reset once more. We kinda use you as a recruiter, but you can function as a leader just fine. In fact, if we don't get a deboner, I guess you could be a secondary sort of leader. Anyway, reset your skill points. Wounded, and... oh! I don't want to replace it. It's a bit of a waste of money, but whatever. Alright, delete that. Anyway, with that, we're out of time. Next time, we'll fight at the Tower of Gorgoth with Greasy and deal with Grimgor and whatever else we have to deal with all the way up in the... well, everywhere. There's fights to be had everywhere, so we'll enjoy those. Stay tuned for more Ogres. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.